What's up, everybody? We're here to go over UFC 300. Alex Pereira taking on Jamal Hill for the light heavyweight title. It's one of the biggest cards, of the year. I don't know. I don't know if it lived up to everybody's expectations, but it's still a pretty badass card, pretty solid card all the way through. Not a single fight on this card, do I think sucks or whatever. The weakest fight on this card, um, probably have to be either Calvin Kattar and Aljamain Sterling um or Holly Holm, Kayla Harrison maybe. I don't know. I kind of can't wait to see Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez, I think Marina Rodriguez is has got a good shot here. Andrade's on somewhat of a bad run, or has been. She won her last fight, but either way, but as far as the results for last week, guys, it was a terrible card for me. Not so much as far as the picks, man, just because like I don't know, I ain't gonna go back and look over the whole card or whatever, but yeah, it was like I only put money on the fights that that I picked wrong, this time out. I had Jamal Emmers, came out, looked great, and kind of faded and got caught with some good shots, and didn't expect that. I always thought a lot higher of Jamal Emmers than to lose to Landwehr, but it happens. Landwehr's tough. He's a beast. Never stops coming. And then other than that, I had a small play on Erin Blanchfield, and she was just too small, to be in that fight with Farote. Way too small, way outsized, so couldn't really get anything going. And then I had another. It was my two big plays were Emmers, and then I had a two-fight parlay that was Ruzabov and Bill Algeo. And obviously, Bill Algeo went out there with his hands down, got hit in the face a bunch of times, just looked like a complete idiot and terrible out there. I'll never put money on him again. Yeah, no, I won't even include him on a parlay again. I don't care, who he's fighting. Um, and then yeah, so I mean, and the only play that I posted ahead of time, it was my posted bets. The hit was a play on Joaquin Buckley, but it was my smallest play. It was like a quarter unit play, so I did a little bit of chasing money, chase my money, which you should never do. You get pissed because you lost, and whatever. But let me give you a little perspective on my two 1 unit plays. That's $2,000, right there that I was down, and then on top of that, then I had the small play on Aaron Blanchfield. So I had to start chasing my money. I won a little bit of it back on Buckley. That was plus money. I don't know, maybe I think I won 400 of it back there. And then I went immediately after Bill Algeo lost. I went and added a big like unit and a half play on Ruzabob. So I won a little bit of it back there as well. I think $800 or $900. And then I did a little live betting throughout the card. So I still lost some money, but it wasn't quite as bad as it seemed, towards the end. I think I originally was down like 2,400, 2,200, something like that, and I ended up, coming out with less than $1,000 of a loss on the card. So, I mean, yeah, it was a loss, but at least I didn't lose, 2 units and whatever else. So, but either way, man, per usual, man, thank you guys so much for being here and caring what I have to say. I really appreciate all you guys so much. Please like and subscribe. It'll always help me out a lot, man. I'm on my way to 1,000 subscribers. It's a big deal for me. If you're new to the channel, what I do is I go through and I give out my picks for each of the fights, and then I give out my bets for free at the end of the card. I don't ever charge money for my bets. I do accept donations if anybody's really that big of a fan, though. Just let me know. And also, I'm available on Spotify, iTunes, all the major streaming platforms as well. I know people rather watch the videos than listen to it on there, but like me, I usually listen to YouTube videos when I'm driving, so I can't see the videos anyway. So, but also, man, if you're not interested in watching my videos, you just want to see my picks and my bets, you can go to my social medias. Highkick_fight picks is Instagram and TikTok, and then there's a Facebook group, High Kick Fight Picks on Facebook. And please feel free to post anything MMA related in that group, man, and post your bets. I want to see everybody's stuff. I want to see everybody win money. I want to bounce ideas off everybody. It means a lot to me to have a bunch of people, sharing their stuff and trying to help each other make money. So, but yeah, man, let's get into this card, guys. And the only fight we really lost was Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad, and that's so far. I know I'm getting this one out pretty early. I got my last video out a few days late, but I was excited for this card. It's a great card, and I just wanted to get it out there and get it early. Plus, with my new working situation, I'm trying to get stuff out as early as possible, and try to help people get on lines. These lines are already steamed mostly, so. But first up, we got Devison Figueiredo taking on Cody Garbrandt, and I've been looking forward to this fight for quite a while now, since they brought it up. I have a vendetta, as big as as big as big as a fan of as that I am of Cody Garbrandt's. I had money on Trevin Jones against him, and he got me there. And Trevin Jones just went out there and didn't do anything, the whole fight. So I was super pissed off about that. And I think I even had a small like $100 or something on Brian Kelleher the last time they fought. So I've been trying to get Cody, trying to make some money off him losing for the past few fights. But and I don't know why, because I'm a big fan of his, and I really do respect everything he's done in the sport. Um, I guess it's just because I've seen him, knocked out a few times in a row or whatever, 4 times, however many times it's been in the UFC. But either way, man, Davison Figueiredo is 36 years old. He's 5'5" with a 68-inch reach. He is 22-3-1 and 11-3-1 in the UFC, and he's a minus 350 favorite right now. I called him at a little bit better price than that on my stuff, but not much. He's always been pretty high of a favorite. 9 wins by knockout, 8 wins by submission. And I honestly, I thought he was, probably done for whenever he was, going up weight class, but he came up and he looked great against Rob Font. I thought Rob Font was going to win that fight, man. I thought he was going to be, bigger and stronger and have the better hands, and it was, the complete opposite. So, Figueiredo looked very powerful, very strong in the clinch. His power with his hands looked on point. He didn't seem to be getting tired at all. He's one of the greatest of all time. He's good everywhere. He's never been legitimately knocked out. He uses a good split, like a split type stance, style of striking. Hits like a truck. Great single leg takedowns. Rob Font is a great boxer, and Figueiredo put it on him pretty much the whole fight. And he's got great counter striking. He's going to have a 2.5-inch reach advantage. I expect him to. I expect him to use his calf kicks in this fight a lot. We saw Cody getting hit with a lot of those in his last fight against Brian Kelleher. And very strong with his body lock, great jiu-jitsu, throws nice uppercuts in close, very good at circling off and coming in at good angles. Good striking defense. Really what this fight is going to come down to is, Figueiredo hits very hard. Cody's been knocked out 4 times in the UFC. So that's my big point of view there. I do think Cody is very skilled and everything, but I do worry, about the chin. Figueiredo shows 56% striking accuracy with 51% striking defense. 44% takedown accuracy with 59% takedown defense. He averages 1.65 takedowns per 15 minutes, and he lands on average 3.08 strikes per minute while absorbing 3.46, and he averages almost 1 knockdown per 15 minutes. And he's taking on Cody Garbrandt. He is 32 years old, coming up on 33, 5'8" with a 65.5-inch reach. So he's taller, but Figueiredo's got a reach advantage of a few inches. He's 14-5 and 9-5 in the UFC, and he's a plus 260 underdog. 11 wins by knockout. He's never won or lost a fight by submission. Which tells you that Figueiredo is the more well-rounded fighter because he's got wins by submission on his record, quite a few. Cody has all the skills, great footwork, great boxing, very fast and accurate. But I'm just like not convinced on his chin, still being there totally, man. Because just because he beat a couple of guys who aren't very good, Trevin Jones. And Brian Kelleher, I'm not totally convinced. And the thing was in the Trevin Jones fight, like Trevin went out there and didn't do anything, the first like 2.5 rounds. And as soon as he finally hit Cody in the third round, he hurt Cody, rocked him and had him on wobbly legs and everything. And then for whatever reason went to the ground with him instead of trying to, get the finish. Dumb mistake on Trevin's part. He's a good fighter, man. I'm sure he'll learn from the mistakes and be back in the UFC, at some point. But, Kelleher just isn't very good at all, apparently. He got flatlined by Cody. It was a nasty knockout. He was having a lot of success with those leg kicks, though. But, Cody's fighting, another former champion here. This isn't, a Brian Kelleher or, whatever. So, Cody's going to be the way bigger fighter here. He's very explosive and athletic, great takedown defense, throws great combinations in the pocket. He may be smart to look for takedowns in this fight to kind of neutralize the power coming at him from Figueiredo on the feet. No doubt he'll land some shots. He's a great boxer, but Figueiredo has never been knocked out. Legitimately. Cody shows 40% striking accuracy with 61% striking defense, 34% takedown accuracy. Sorry, with 80% takedown defense, and he averages just over one takedown per 15 minutes. Doesn't shoot all that often. I think he did shoot on Trevin Jones in that fight. He lands on average 3.06 strikes per minute while absorbing 3.91, and he averages over one knockdown per 15 minutes. Sorry. And this will be a fun fight while it lasts, man. But I do think that at some point Figueiredo is going to either land a big shot and put Cody away, or he'll win the rounds by hurting Cody with the bigger shots, and win a decision. So, but I'm going to be taking Figueiredo to get the win by knockout round 2. Next up, we got Bobby Green taking on Jim Miller. It's great matchmaking, man. It's a cool fight. Surprised these guys, haven't fought before. Honestly, as long as they've both been around. Bobby Green is 37 years old. He's 5'10" with a 71-inch reach. 31, 15 and 1, and 12, 10 and 1 in the UFC. And he's a minus 180 favorite. 11 wins by knockout, 9 wins by submission. He had gone a really long time without getting knocked out until recently. He's been knocked out twice. Once by Drew Dober, once by Jalen Turner in his last fight. Which worries me a bit here, man. But Jalen Turner is twice his size. I wasn't really surprised on that one. Both these guys are legends, man, and have fought all the tough guys in the lightweight division. I'm a big fan of Green's, man. I was super excited when he knocked out Grant Dawson, in just a few seconds and shocked the world, man. That was so cool. And he's always had some of the best boxing in the sport, man. He's so good at rolling with punches and creating angles and swinging up from the hips so that you can't see where the punches are coming from. And his power has actually looked pretty good, lately, man. He got that knockout of Dawson. He was hurting other guys. Um, it's not like he's completely out of the water when it comes to getting a knockout, man. Because for a while it was mostly decision wins, with him. He lands a lot of volume, very technical, great head movement and striking defense, really fast hands. He's taller, but these guys are going to have the same reach, so no advantages there. I'd like to see him throw more kicks. He's got great setups, good at using feints to set up his strikes, good at drawing out his opponent's strikes and, countering off those. The way he keeps his hands so low, kind of puts his chin out to draw them in to swinging on them, He fights well from both stances. He will switch when he throws certain strikes, just really tricky, and he's great at beating guys up, off the cage, whenever he's got his back to the cage, just using his side-to-side movement and countering. He shows 52% striking accuracy with 62% striking defense, 38% takedown accuracy with 74% takedown defense. And it says he averages 1.20 takedowns per 15 minutes, and he lands on average 6.14 strikes per minute while absorbing 3.74. And he's taken on Jim Miller. Jim Miller is 40 years old, 5'8" with a 71-inch reach. He is 37-17 and 26-16 in the UFC, and he is a plus 150 underdog. 7 wins by knockout, 20 wins by submission. He's on, quite a good run, late in his career, man. His last 6 wins have been by finish, which is, it's kind of a big deal for a guy that's been around so long, very impressive and quite a few knockouts, man. He was primarily known for his grappling earlier on in his career, and he's got very high level jiu-jitsu, but lately he's been going out there and boxing guys up. His power has looked better than ever. And it makes this a real interesting matchup, man. And I do think that he has the power advantage in this fight. Going back and looking through his record, he has some legit wins. If you look at it, he's got wins over Dwayne Ludwig, Gleison Tebow, Charles Oliveira. He submitted Charles Oliveira back in the day. His cardio is good, and a win here over Green would put him right back up in the rankings. And wouldn't that be crazy to see Jim Miller in his 40s fighting the top 10 of the division? Possibly working his way to a title shot. I mean, I know it seems kind of far-fetched at times, but if you look at what he's been doing, it's completely possible. Green took a lot of damage in his last fight, which could benefit Miller a lot here. The referee should have stopped that fight way earlier. He'll just basically let Green get knocked out, again, after he'd already been dropped, Miller shows 42% striking accuracy with 58% striking defense, 44% takedown accuracy with 48% takedown defense, and he averages 1.58 takedowns per 15 minutes, and he lands on average 2.96 strikes per minute while absorbing 3.18. He's tough, man. He's game. He hasn't been knocked out a bunch of times. He's got 15 first round finishes. And I've been struggling a lot with this pick, man. A few years ago, I would think it would be a no brainer to pick, a Green here, Bobby Green. But Miller has really impressed me, and Green has been knocked out twice recently, man. And Green is the favorite on the betting line, but Miller is favored on Tapology, and I kind of understand why. And um, I do think this fight could be a lot like the Green versus Dober fight. Where Green is landing the volume and having a lot of success, and then boom, gets hit with that big shot. I want Green to win more so, kind of. I don't know, man. It's hard for me to even say that because I like these guys both so much. But I'm going to take the dog shot on Jim Miller here to win. Take him to win by knockout. If it goes to decision, most likely that means Green will win. So watch the live betting opportunity there. But I'll take Miller to win by knockout round two, man. He's been looking great lately. Next up, we got Jessica Andrade taking on Marina Rodriguez. Oh, I love how everybody's going with Andrade on this one. Excuse me, I'm gonna grab some water real quick, guys. Okay, so Jessica Andrade is 32 years old. She is 5'1" with a 62-inch reach. She is 25-12 and 16-10 in the UFC. She's at my minus 105. I think they're both at like minus 115 now. I think it's pretty even. I do like the odds right now on this fight. 10 wins by knockout, 8 wins by submission for Jessica Andrade. Most of her losses in the UFC have been by finish, basically all of them, maybe but like one. Before her last fight, she lost three in a row by finish, and it seems as if a lot of people think she's back because she knocked out Mackenzie Dern. But I just think Mackenzie Dern, isn't very good. At least she's a terrible striker with bad IQ, in her striking. She's a good grappler, but Andrade is very powerful, good Muay Thai, but she's at a major, height and reach disadvantage here. And her weaknesses in the past have been her takedown defense and submission awareness and defense. She's been submitted 4 times in the UFC. She's been in the UFC since 2013. She's a former champion. She does have good chokes. We saw that against Amanda Lemos, and but she doesn't have anything off of her back, especially. She's gonna have a power advantage in this fight. She's fought the tougher competition. She's fought all the champions. If you're gonna take her to win, I would say take her to win by knockout. I expect this fight to play out on the feet, man, and I wouldn't be surprised if Rodriguez has been working on her ground game and her wrestling after the Verna Januroba loss. It must have been, tough, for her to deal with that. She's probably been training that a lot. But Andrade shows 51% striking accuracy with 55% striking defense. 55% takedown accuracy with 72% takedown defense. She averages 2.45 takedowns per 15 minutes, and she lands on average 6.67 strikes per minute while absorbing 5.36. So she puts out great volume, but she does get hit a whole lot. And Rodriguez is very accurate. Rodriguez is 36 years old, coming up on 37. 5'6" with a 65-inch reach. She is 17-3-2 and 7-3-2 in the UFC, and she's at a minus 115. 7 wins by knockout, 1 win by submission. She's only been finished once. She has a win over Yan, who's fighting Weili for the title on this card. So that's very impressive. That tells you how good she is. And Yan knocked out Jessica Andrade, in her last fight. So but yeah, man, but Rodriguez is going to have a 5-inch height advantage and a 3-inch reach advantage. And she's very good at using it, man. Great kickboxing, very fast. She's the more technical striker out of these two for sure. She's going to have a speed advantage. She looked way better than we've ever seen her in her last fight, man. I mean, that was a nasty, nasty performance, man. She really did a lot of damage with her elbows and knees, and it was just very impressive, man. And I could see her having success with that in this fight as well, being that Andrade's so much shorter than her. Her takedown defense has been what's hurting her recently. She was taken down in her last fight, but was able to get back to her feet and do damage. And great knees and elbows in her Muay Thai clinch. The difference between these two in the striking is that Andrade is going to be looking for those big shots. She just runs forward, swinging power shots. It's very ugly and not technical at all. And when that's how she got knocked out by Yan, in that fight. And Rodriguez is good at managing the distance and out voluming and pressure fighting with volume. I was really impressed with how good, she was using her knees and elbows in the clinch in her last fight. Like I said, I mean, it was really impressive, man, and to a tough opponent as well, man. She did so much damage, and I can see that, definitely happening in this fight as well. Like I said, and you know, I really like her chances in this fight. She would be smart to clinch Andrade and wear on her early. In the fight, slow her down. Kind of knock some of that power off of her, and then use her speed and her reach and just kind of, pick Andrade apart from the outside. Um, Rodriguez has shows 49% striking accuracy with 56% striking defense, 43% takedown accuracy with 66% takedown defense, and she lands on average 4.77 strikes per minute while absorbing 2.89. And I'm not sure that Andrade's wrestling will be good enough to get Rodriguez down and keep her down. Rodriguez has such long legs and everything. I think she would definitely be able to get back to her feet if Andrade does get her down. Let me know what y'all think in the comments, man. But I'm going to be taking Rodriguez to win this fight. I like the price. It might switch around, and if it ends up being plus money, I might actually add a bigger play on her. Um, but I want to say by decision, but most of Andrade's losses have been by finish. So, I'm thinking, if the same Marina Rodriguez comes out that fought in her last fight, man, she could win this fight by a late TKO, third round TKO. So. Next up, we got Jalen Turner taking on Renato Moicano. This is an interesting matchup for sure. Jalen Turner is 28 years old, coming up on 29 here pretty soon. 6'3" with a 75.5-inch reach. He is 14-7 and 7-4 in the UFC, and he's a minus 214 favorite. Um, 10 wins by knockout, 4 wins by submission. He's never been submitted, but he has been knocked out 3 times. He's been on quite a run, man. He should have won the Gamrot fight, probably in my opinion. The Hooker fight was super close. And it was an awesome fight. Great war with a very skilled striker. He's huge, probably the biggest lightweight in the UFC. He's going to have a 3.5-inch reach advantage. He's been working hard on his wrestling and his takedown defense. There's videos out there of him training with Khamzat Chimaev and just really working on that part of his game. And he's good at using his height and his reach, very powerful, really fast and accurate. One thing that has looked, questionable at times has been his cardio, late in the fight, like in the third round, he does tend to slow down a little bit. He's going to have the advantage with his power and in the striking in this fight for sure, if he can keep it on the feet. He has struggled in the past with good wrestlers, whereas, Moicano is more of a jiu-jitsu type, guy in his approach to getting the takedowns. Um, rather than, like a, legit wrestler, but it doesn't mean he won't be able to get Turner down. But Turner shows 49% striking accuracy with 41% striking defense, 56% takedown accuracy with 76% takedown defense, and he averages just under 1 takedown per 15 minutes, and he lands on average 6 strikes per minute while absorbing 4.63, and he averages 1.23 knockdowns per 15 minutes, which is pretty impressive, man. And he's taking on Renato Moicano. He is 34 years old, coming up on 35, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach, 18-5-1 and 10-5 in the UFC, and he's a plus 184 underdog. He's never won a fight by knockout, surprisingly, but has 10 wins by submission. He's only been submitted once, but has been knocked out 3 times. This guy's very good, high level jujitsu, and even though he hasn't won a fight by knockout, his striking has gotten a lot better and has looked pretty sharp, as well lately. Um, the last time he fought somebody even close to this tall was Jai Herbert, and he dominated that fight, fairly easily with, his, he had like, using great trip takedowns and stuff like that. But I don't think Turner's quite as easy to take down as Jai Herbert. But Moicano's great at advancing positions on the ground. If he wins this fight, it'll probably be the first time that Turner has been submitted. I don't see him winning any other way. It's just that Turner is so big. I don't know if Moicano will be able to get him down, as easily as he has other people in the past. And Moicano, he is good at getting the body lock and spinning guys around and dropping them down, but and Jalen Turner's so big. He's got such long legs. It's so hard to get him down, and Moicano shows 48% striking accuracy with 61% striking defense, 47% takedown accuracy with 73% takedown defense. He averages 1.80 takedowns per 15 minutes, and he lands on average 4.41 strikes per minute while absorbing 3.80. I'd like to see Moicano win this fight. He has a chance, but I see Turner, winning the fight on damage and using his long limbs to push Moicano off and land big shots and hurt Moicano. I don't know if he gets a finish, Bent. I was gonna say by decision, but let's go with late, third round TKO whenever Moicano slows down a bit. Next up, we got Sadiq Yusuff taking on Diego Lopes. This is a great fight. So, Yusuff is 30 years old, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. He is 13-3 and 6-2 in the UFC, and he was a plus 125 underdog. Uh, Money's been pouring in on Yusuff, so he's working his way towards being a favorite. Money's been coming in on him, and I see why, man. I've had a lot of trouble with this fight, man, and every time I think I've made a decision, I want to change it. He's got 6 wins by knockout, 1 win by submission. It's great matchmaking. Yusuff has been, on a good run through most of his UFC career. He beat Mike Davis on the Contender Series, which is a legit win. And I don't know what happened to him in his last fight, man. He came out and he was destroying Barboza in the first round and almost finished him. And then it was like he stopped fighting and kind of let Barboza take over. And I guess maybe he blew his load, in the first round trying to finish Barboza or whatever. Or maybe he was trying to pace himself, for the 5 rounds and he just kind of, got behind, and let Barboza start getting in the rhythm and he screwed himself. But um, he's got great kickboxing. He's well rounded. Doesn't use his grappling very much, but he showed he can by easily submitting. Who was that? Don Shanis. He submitted him like 30 seconds, just like he was nothing. And he's never been submitted himself. He's the more technical, better striker out of these two, probably. It's hard for me to say, how good Lopes really is because both his last 2 wins have been super quick. We haven't got to see a whole lot of him, at this high of a level. Yusuff can't go. Oh yeah, Yusuff can't go to the ground with Lopes. At least I don't think it would be smart for him. Even if he has never been submitted, Lopes is very dangerous off of his back. No doubt Yusuff, would beat the crap out of the last 2 guys that Lopes fought as well. So I mean, I don't want to be so confident, in Lopes because of his quick finishes. Even though I'm a really big fan of his, he's so exciting to watch. I'm uh, really big fan of his, and I'm trying not to let that kind of like swayed me on this pick. Um, I'm sure that Yusuf's going to have learned his lesson from his loss to Barboza, and it will probably make him a better fighter in the long run. Yusuf does his best work when he's pressuring guys like he did in the first round of Barboza, moving forward, just kind of putting it on guys. And I understand why everybody is going with Lopes, 2 quick finishes in a row. But, I don't think Yusuff is the kind of guy that you can finish in 30 seconds, go out there and knock out quick or whatever. Yusuff shows 50% striking accuracy with 55% striking defense, 20% takedown accuracy, probably because he doesn't shoot very much, with 63% takedown defense. And he lands on average 5.72 strikes per minute while absorbing 4.33. And he's taking on Diego Lopes. He is 29 years old, 5'11" with a 72.5-inch reach. He is 23-6 and 2-1 in the UFC, and he's a minus 150 favorite. But he was at the time of the notes. I think he's down to like a minus 125 now, um, maybe even lower. But he has 9 wins by knockout, 12 wins by submission. He's never been submitted. Uh, but has been knocked out twice. This guy is, so dangerous with his submissions, man. And he made his debut against Evloev, which is a crazy fight, for your first fight in the UFC. And yeah, he got dominated pretty easily, but he threw up a lot of submissions, and he showed how dangerous he is off of his back in that fight. And he's very long and tall for the weight class. He's going to have a 1.5-inch reach advantage. He's very well rounded. Sharp striking. This fight will tell us a lot because Yusuff is a tough fighter, man, with a lot of experience and um, is up there in the rankings, and he's gonna have he probably have the cardio advantage most likely. Lopes will just because Yusuff seemed to get tired, but it was a 5 round fight. I don't know if you want to read too much into that or not, but like I said, man, with Lopes getting the quick finishes like that, it's hard for me to confidently say how good his striking is as compared to Sadiq Yusuff. Um, I mean, it's tough for me to say, and this is a very hard fight to pick, man. For whatever reason, my brain is telling me to take Yusuff, because I've seen more of him, and I think he has the better wins. But I'm such a big fan of Lopez's right now, man. And like I said, it's really hard for me to pick Yusuff, and I mean, Lopez does have a big advantage on the ground with grappling. I mean, I don't know that he would be able to take Yusuff down. Not likely. But if if Yusuff was dumb enough to go to the ground with him, he could get submitted. But man, I've been going back and forth on this one, man, and I don't know, man. I think I left this fight off of my parlays, man. I'm pretty sure I did. Man, this is hard. This is a hard fight for me to make a decision on, man. Yusuff, man. I don't know, man. It's hard to pick against Yusuff as well, man. He's such a good fighter and such a good striker, man. He's got big power. Yeah, I think I left this fight off of my parlays. So you know what, dude? Originally, I was gonna go with Lopez by submission. I was gonna go with Lopez by submission, and I'm really thinking about switching that pick to Yusuff, man. Plus money on Yusuff. You don't normally get that. Uh, I'll, man, I don't know. I guess I'm gonna stick with my original pick, man. Even though dude, something deep in me, man, is telling me to take Yusuff to win this fight by decision. But also, I want to. Oh man, I don't know. I guess let's just stick with Lopez by submission. Maybe Yusuff will get hurt with a shot, shoot a bad takedown. Lopez will lock in a choke. That's what I was originally going to go with, man. Man, it's hard for me to pick against Yusuff. Let me know what you guys think on this one, man. Next up, we got Holly Holm taking on Kayla Harrison. And Holly Holm is 42 years old, 5'8" with a 69-inch reach. She is 15-6 and 8-6 in the UFC. She's a plus 365 underdog. 8 wins by knockout, no wins by submission. She's only been submitted one time, and it was in her last fight, and it got overturned to a no contest because Silva billed for steroids or something. I don't remember what the deal was, but she's been around a long time, man. Former champion. She's only lost to the toughest fighters in the UFC. And mainly like Nunes and Cyborg, right? Pretty much, and Silva, but that one doesn't count apparently. But Holm's gonna have a 3-inch reach advantage in this fight. These two are the same height, but Kayla's gonna be way bigger muscle wise, and I do have quite a hard time believing that Kayla Harrison can make 135 pounds, man. Um, I really wish the UFC hadn't got rid of the 145 division, man. The only reason that nothing's going on with the 145 division is because they're not pushing for it. I mean, there's plenty of fighters out there. There's people they could bring in. Kayla Harrison would be perfect for the 145-pound division. I mean, I don't understand that. The women should have the opportunities just as much as men. I mean, um, either way, sorry for going off on a rant there, but Holm has a lot of high level striking experience, an 18-time boxing world champion. She retired from boxing with a 33-2-3 record. No doubt she's the better striker out of these two. Holly hasn't gotten a finish, since 2017, I think. But she has been working on, a lot on her wrestling and her takedown defense. She's fought the way tougher competition for sure. She's been training with Chris Cyborg for this fight. I don't know how that makes sense. I don't know if Cyborg was originally training to fight Harrison or what, but she's coming up on 43 years old now in a few months, man. She's definitely not in her prime anymore, but she's still been having success. That's how good she is. But, if she can keep the fight on the feet and at range, she could possibly pull off a decision win here. Holly does have great cardio. Um, she's more technical on the feet, I mean, she has big advantage in striking. Holly shows 41% striking accuracy with 56% striking defense, 31% takedown accuracy with 79% takedown defense, and she averages just under one takedown per 15 minutes, and she lands on average 3.21 strikes per minute while absorbing 2.79. And she's taking on Kayla Harrison. She is 33 years old, 5'8", with a 66-inch reach. She is 16-1, and this is going to be her UFC debut. She's a minus 475 favorite. 6 wins by knockout, 6 wins by submission. High level Olympic judo champion. But she's been fighting up like 150 pounds. I mean, she's gonna have to get down to 135. It could affect her badly. I mean, we don't know what she's gonna look like. Strikes out of the southpaw stance mostly. Great takedowns with her body lock. Great head and arm throws. Just very explosive and powerful, man. And really heavy top pressure. She likes the crucifix position. She's usually on half guard. Trying to go for that position most of the time, and being inside control. She has great sweeps and reversals. Her strengths are Holly's weaknesses. Great ground and pound. Once she has a hold of you, it's hard to break free, man. She's so strong. You can just tell by looking at her how strong she is. She beat Aspen Ladd, who didn't really make it in the UFC in her last fight, so I guess that's not all that impressive. But one thing is, most of the women that Harrison has fought, haven't been super high level competition, man. At least from what I could tell by watching the tape and looking at it. I mean, I'm not so much into the PFL as I am into the UFC, just because have to spend a lot of my time working on UFC stuff for my channel. But um, this will definitely be their toughest fight of her career, man. But she's been dominant, every step of the way. She has great timing on her takedowns, and if she doesn't get the double leg or the single leg, she's very good at keeping hold and works her way up to the body lock, and finds the takedown. So I think Kayla's going to be way too big and strong for Holly, and I think she's going to get the control time and win a decision, possibly get a submission. But Holmes only been submitted once, man. So I'll take Kayla Harrison to win by decision. Next up, we got Calvin Kattar taking on Aljamain Sterling. And Kattar is 36 years old. He is 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. He is 23-7 and 7-5 in the UFC, and he is a plus 106 underdog. Might be even bigger underdog now. Um, 10 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission. He's been out over a year, coming off that knee injury, and he's got really great boxing. And unless he's fighting Max Holloway, that everyone's always talked about how great Calvin Cater's boxing was, but Max Holloway just put it on him. So I mean that was crazy to see. But very fast hands, uses his jab very well, good at using his height and reach. He's going to be a lot taller, but he's only going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. Does like to sit back and counter strike a lot of the time. Nasty straight right hand. I am really surprised this line is as close as it is, according to the numbers. According to the numbers, Kattar, has great takedown defense, but if you look at who he's been fighting, not really any good wrestlers or grapplers, for the most part. Josh Emmett, has a wrestling background, but he never tries to take anybody down, doesn't use it. And Kattar fought Moicano early on in his career, and he lost that fight. So I'm not super confident in that his takedown defense is going to hold up in this fight. Sterling's very high level, with his grappling. This fight all comes down to how good Sterling is going to look up a weight class, man. And he was always a huge 135er. If Kattar wasn't coming back off an injury, I would probably be more keen to pick him in this fight, to be honest. Kattar shows 40% striking accuracy with 55% striking defense, 29% takedown accuracy with 91% takedown defense, and he lands on average 5.12 strikes per minute while absorbing 7.10. I'd imagine most of the absorbing number is probably from the Max Holloway fight. That's probably gonna, haunt him for a long time. But for the most part, pretty good striking defense usually. Um, he's taking on Aljamain Sterling. He is 34 years old, 5'7" with a 71-inch reach. He is 23-4 and 15-4 in the UFC. He's a minus 125 favorite, and he's got 3 wins by knockout, 8 wins by submission. He's never been submitted, but has been knocked out twice. Has great wrestling, great jiu-jitsu. Very good at taking the back and backpacking guys. He does that in a lot of his fights. His striking has been consistently getting better. I'm not going to lie, man. And, he has wins over some of the best guys to ever do it, and I've never been a Sterling fan, but you don't have to be a fan to respect everything he's accomplished in the sport. And, we may see another situation here like we saw when Figueiredo went up, a weight class, and he may look better than ever, and he's been competing in a lot of grappling tournaments since his last fight, and One thing I will say is that Cater is built kind of like Sean O'Malley, tall and rangy striker. Nowhere near as good, with the footwork and stuff. Not the same kind of style of striker as O'Malley, but they're built the same. Sterling's key to win will be his takedowns, man. I don't think he's going to win a striking battle against Calvin Cater. Although Cater has been out a while, might be a little rusty, but Sterling will need to go to get in close, get the single leg, and work Cater up against the cage and try to get the takedowns. And if he can't get Cater down, it could be a very long night for him. Sterling shows 52% striking accuracy with 58% striking defense, 24% takedown accuracy with 45% takedown defense. Those numbers aren't very good, man, but it's probably because he shoots 20 takedowns every fight, and he doesn't land all of them, but he does usually get people down in every fight. He averages 2 takedowns per 15 minutes, and he lands on average 4.73 strikes per minute while absorbing 2.41. So he definitely doesn't get hit as much as Cater does, but the volume is just average, really. Sterling is favored to win on Tapology. The betting line is close. I'm going to pick Sterling only because he's coming back because Cater's coming back off an injury. When was the last time Cater fought? A year and a half. So I mean, not super long, but it has been quite a while. And Sterling's been fighting the tougher competition. So yeah, I'm going to go with Sterling to win by decision. As much as I'd like to see him, lose, but next up is Yuri Prochazka taking on Alexander Rakic. Prochazka is 31 years old. He is 6'3" with an 80-inch reach. He is 29, 4-1, and 3-1 in the UFC, and he's a plus 110 underdog. It's just crazy, man, that he's only fought 4 times in the UFC, and he's this high up in the rankings, and he's already had the belt already before, and I mean, it's crazy. So I mean, his last fight, coming back off a bad injury, he looked all right at first. He was winning the fight up until that point, until he shot a bad takedown and Pereira landed all those elbows. But I do think he was winning that fight up to that point. I don't know if everybody else agrees, but Yuri is a great fighter, man. He has amazing unorthodox striking that draws guys. He draws guys into swinging on him and counters. He has weird offbeat footwork and head movement. Very powerful, man. 25 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission. He's only won 1 fight by decision. The guy's a finisher, man. And I think he was too worried about the takedowns in his last fight against Pereira, man, and it cost him. Wasn't really fighting like himself like he typically, usually does. He's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage in this fight, and Rakic hadn't fought in 2 years and is coming back off an injury, which definitely has an effect in my pick on this fight. And Yuri keeps his hands real low, very good at creating angles and firing shots from weird positions, and it can appear very sloppy, man, but it's effective, man, and you can tell by 25 knockouts. I mean, it is effective and very accurate with his punches. He's not much of a grappler, but he did submit Glover Teixeira, and I would say he has the edge in the grappling in this matchup probably. He throws lots of volume. He fights well from both stances. Switches a lot. It's got to be pretty hard to find a guy who can match the way that Yuri Prochazka fights, and prepare for him, So he's great at using his stance switches to set up his strikes. Has good single leg takedowns, awesome spinning attacks, spinning elbows and kicks. Yuri shows 56% striking accuracy with 40% striking defense, 50% takedown accuracy with 68% takedown defense. And he lands on average 5.31 strikes per minute while absorbing 5.17, so he does get hit way too much. The way he fights, he leaves a lot of openings, and he kind of baits people in by leaving his chin out in the open, which isn't always a good idea, but for the most part, it's worked for him. He's taking on Alexander Rakic. He is 32 years old, 6'4" with a 78-inch reach. He is 14-3 and 6-2 in the UFC, and he's actually a minus 130 favorite. 9 wins by knockout and 1 win by submission. He's looked pretty good so far in the UFC, but the only win that he has so far that I find impressive is the Thiago Santos, but that was also Thiago Santos towards the end of his time in the UFC, as well. So, Rakic lost to Ozdemir. Racic's never been legitimately knocked out. It just says he has a knockout on his record because of the injury, his last fight. He throws great calf kicks, good kickboxing, needs to work on checking leg kicks. He was getting beat up by Bolsevich with those in his last fight, and he's very accurate. He uses his jab very well. He had that leg injury, man, and I don't know, man. I thought that Jan won the first round of that fight. Rakic came out and got a takedown in the next round. Won that round. I think it was in the third round that the leg went out. But it was a fairly competitive fight, up until that point. I don't know if he would have won the fight if it had continued or not, but his best bet would probably be to take Prochazka down in this matchup. But I don't know if he'll be able to. He has the more traditional, technical striking, type style. But how will he deal with, the unorthodox stuff that Yuri's coming at him with? We don't know, and I don't feel like he has a lot of advantages in this fight. Honestly, coming back after being out 2 years, it would be hard for me to put money on him. After being out 2 years and coming back, and he shows 50% striking accuracy with 53% striking defense, 25% takedown accuracy with 90% takedown defense. He averages just under one takedown per 15 minutes, and he lands on average 4.01 strikes per minute while absorbing 2.30, which is pretty good, man. Pretty good ratio there. Doesn't get hit a whole lot. I like the plus money on Prochazka in this fight, man, and I'm going to take him to win by decision only because Rakic hasn't been knocked out, but I don't know, and that might actually be most of Prochazka's wins are by knockout. So might as well say by knock. Let's just say by knockout. Um, it's only a 3 round fight, so let's go with second round knockout for Yuri Prochazka. Because everybody on Tapology is going with Prochazka too, man. So kind of curious that the betting line is favored towards Rakic. Next up, we got Charles Oliveira taking on Arman Tsarrukyan. This is a great fight, man, and this is one that I thought I had my mind made up, this whole time going in, knowing this fight was coming up and everything, and when I started running the tape on it, it really made me question myself. But uh, Charles Oliveira is 34 years old, 5'10" with a 74-inch reach. He is 34-9 and 22-9 in the UFC, and he's a plus 200 underdog. 10 wins by knockout and 21 wins by submission. He's only really struggled with the high level wrestling of Islam Makhachev, and he has some of the best jiu-jitsu we've ever seen. Really good Muay Thai striking, very tall and long. He's going to have a 1.5 inch reach advantage. He's beaten all the tough competition in this weight class. There's not a lot of holes in his game. And, just when we thought he was going to go away, he knocked out Benil Dariush, and big comeback for him. And Oliveira throws great kicks to all levels, great knees in close, super aggressive off of his back, does a great job at defending off of his back as well. Uh, we've seen him get dropped and hurt, in some of his fights recently, but he also came back and got the win in those fights. So, he's never completely out of a fight. Been there, done that, been through all of it, and I do think he has an advantage in the striking in this fight. Tsarrukyan does hit very hard though. Charles throws great combinations with a wide variety of strikes. You know, one particular combination I saw him throwing was a front kick, straight right, left uppercut, finished with a low kick. I mean, it's a really pretty combination, man. Very effective as well. Beautiful to watch, man. And he always uses the body lock and his length and leverage to get guys down, rather than going for single legs and stuff like that. One thing I noticed is that all the guys Charles have fought, aside from Makhachev, have always, stood the fight back up whenever they drop Charles. They nobody wanted to go to the ground with Charles, and Tsarrukyan isn't going to be scared to go there, man, and that's where he's going to want the fight. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Um, this whole time leading up to this fight, I've been hell bent on taking Tsarrukyan, but it's hard to pick against Charles, man, especially when you go back and watch all the tape on him. And he's such an awesome guy, man. He's so cool and just a cool person, and he's good everywhere. And one thing about Charles is at times he's too comfortable on his back, and it could cost him rounds that way. This being only a 3 round fight, he doesn't have a lot of time to spend on his back. Makhachev and Tsarrukyan are very similar in a lot of ways in the way they fight. Charles shows 54% striking accuracy with 52% striking defense, 40% takedown accuracy with 56% takedown defense. That's a key number there, man. A key, yeah. Um, and he averages 2.32 takedowns per 15 minutes, and he averages 2.73 submissions per 15 minutes. And he lands on average 3.54 strikes per minute while absorbing 3.19. And he has an average fight time of 6 minutes and 52 seconds. I could definitely see Charles having success with his kicks against the shorter fighter in this fight, and his knees and stuff like that in close. But it's going to be a tough fight, man, for both of these guys. Arman Tsarrukyan is 27 years old. He is 5'7" with a 72.5 inch reach. He is 21-3 and 8-2 in the UFC, and he is a minus 250 favorite. 9 wins by knockout and 5 wins by submission. He's never been submitted, but was knocked out once back in like 2015 at the beginning of his career. This guy is so good and constantly improving, man. He made his debut, against the current champ, Islam Makhachev, and it was actually a close fight. Very entertaining, wrestling back and forth, grappling, a fight. Um, I thought he won the Gamrot fight. I don't know how everyone else feels about that, but I definitely thought Tsarrukyan won that fight. Um, but if you look at, what's been going on since Gamrot and Tsarrukyan fought, Gamrot has been barely scraping by, man. He lost to Beneil Dariush, it's just kind of barely been scraping by in these fights, on control time. And meanwhile, Tsarrukyan has been knocking dudes out, man. He knocked out Dariush, knocked out Joaquin Silva, so he is so explosive and fast, and his striking has been getting so much better than it was early in his UFC career. And he may even have a power advantage in this fight with the hands, man. He's a high level wrestler, slash grappler. Great doubles, singles, trip, body lock takedowns, all that. Very heavy top pressure, nasty ground and pound. Once he gets guys down, it's almost impossible to get him off of you, and he just kind of hangs on guys and really just slows them down. And 4 of his last 5 wins have been by knockout, which is something kind of, he's been working on the striking, and you can tell. Great elbows in close, good head movement. He's really, really good at heading guys off and keeping them from getting away, heading off the guys to the cage. And he will have to go out there and use his wrestling. Charles is probably way better in the striking. Um, Armand shows 48% striking accuracy with 54% striking defense. 36% takedown accuracy with 75% takedown defense. He lands on average 3.40 takedowns per 15 minutes, key number there. And he lands on average 3.85 strikes per minute while absorbing 1.91. So he doesn't get hit very much at all, man, and he puts out, decent volume. Could be better, but, it's decent to not get hit that much, so he doesn't take a lot of risk. I don't think any of us would mind seeing the rematch with Makhachev and either of these guys. I've really been looking forward to the rematch with Tsarrukyan for a long time. I don't like the price, man. The fact that Oliveira is such a big underdog makes me want to pick him to win this fight. Um, but I'm gonna go with the wrestling of Tsarrukyan, man, for him to get a decision win here. But I'm probably gonna make an underdog parlay that has Oliveira in it just in case. Some of the underdogs I have on this card, like Prochazka and Oliveira, put them all on there just for the value and just put a little something on it, man. Next up, we got man. So why this next fight is not the first fight on the card, I'll never understand. I like Bo Nickel. I think he's great, but I just don't. I mean, he's so good. He's great. Everyone knows how great he is, and he's just fighting bums. And I just this should be like the first fight on the card, and Davison Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt should be right here, in my opinion. Um, but whatever, man. Bo Nickel is 28 years old. He is 6'1" with a 76-inch reach. He is 5-0 and 2-0 in the UFC. He's a minus 2,000 favorite. Obviously, the high-level wrestler, one of the best we've seen coming into the UFC in a long time, especially like an American wrestler, not Russian. And he hasn't had he hadn't had a tough fight yet. I almost made it the whole video without messing up. He hasn't had a tough fight yet in the UFC, and they keep giving him fights with guys who haven't done well in the UFC. And this is another one, man. And all of his wins have been by finish. He's gonna have a 4-inch reach advantage. He's better everywhere the fight goes here, and I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this one. Really. Cody Brundage is 29 years old. He's 6 foot tall, with a 72-inch reach. He is 10-5 and 4-4 in the UFC. He's a plus 1,000 underdog. 5 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission. He's got a wrestling background, but he got out wrestled by Cedricus Dumas, so he's definitely going to get out wrestled by Bo Nickel if it comes to that. Outside of him landing a lucky shot, I don't see any way he could win this fight at all, man. And I've got Nickel to win by knockout round 1. Wish I could go over them all that quick. Next up, we got Justin Gaethje taking on Max Holloway for the BMF title. It's a great fight, man. And Justin Gaethje is 35 years old, 5'11" with a 70-inch reach. He is 25-4 and 8-4 in the UFC, and he's a minus 225 favorite. 19 wins by knockout and 2 wins by submission. He's one of the most exciting fighters we've ever seen, man. He's one of my favorite fighters of all time. coming off a knockout of Dustin Poirier, which is a big deal, man. And this guy arguably should be fighting for a title right now, or rematching, Charles Oliveira again, for a title eliminator or something. But he hits like a truck, man. Great calf kicks, really good combinations. He outstruck Fiziev, who's a very high level striker in that fight, and he's gonna have a 1 inch reach advantage. He's gonna have the power advantage in this fight for sure. And this is just a fun fight, man. Justin does tend to load up on every shot, but he doesn't really get tired. He can do it. He can do it. For I mean, at least 3 rounds. I mean, 4 and 5. I'd imagine his cardio is even better now, and he seemed a lot more patient in his last fight. Not as reckless as he used to be. He got his nose fixed before the Fiziev fight, and it seems to have helped his cardio out a whole lot. He always pushes a really tough pace. He's going to be a whole lot bigger and stronger in this fight. And the last time Max went up a weight class, it didn't go, very well for him. These two have different, kinds of striking. Gaethje is Gaethje is everything with power and hooks and just throws everything onto his shots. Whereas Max is going to throw longer, straighter shots and kind of touch guys up and overwhelm them with volume. Justin shows 60% striking accuracy, which is pretty high, with 54% striking defense, 25% takedown accuracy with 75% takedown defense. He has good wrestling. He just doesn't ever use it. He lands and absorbs about the same amount of strikes at 7.35 and 7.50. So puts out a whole lot of volume, gets hit way too much. And he's got an average fight time of 9 minutes and 46 seconds. And he's taking on Max Holloway, one of my favorite fighters all time too, man. And he's 32 years old, 5'11", with a 69-inch reach. He is 25-7 and 21-7 in the UFC. And he's a plus 185 underdog. 11 wins by knockout, 2 wins by submission. The only guys to beat Max since 2014 have been Volkanovski and Poirier, up a weight class. So I mean, he should honestly be fighting Topuria instead probably, but I'm not complaining. He's one of the best featherweights ever. He has possibly the best boxing in the UFC, and I'm such a big fan of his, like I said, and I would love to see him win this fight. The way he easily beat, Arnold Allen and Kattar, it's just wild that anyone could beat those guys and have zero trouble at all, in those fights. And I do think he has the cleaner, more technical striking, but the power difference, for Gaethje is huge. He may have the speed advantage. He tends to throw, more than one at a time. Goes to the body a lot with his punches. Great head movement and footwork. Great at managing distance. And I do think that the 5 rounds works more so to Max's advantage. He has a ton of 5-round experience. If the same Max shows up that beat Calvin Kattar, on that night, Max could beat anyone. Max shows 48% striking accuracy with 60% striking defense, 53% takedown accuracy with 84% takedown defense, and he lands on average 7.17 strikes per minute while absorbing 4.75. I'm going with Justin to win this fight, man, by decision, because Max has never been knocked out. But I just think Justin's going to be, way too big and powerful, and kind of like whenever Max went up and fought Poirier, just too big and powerful to keep up with him in this fight. And although I do hope Max wins, kind of, man, it'd be cool to see him win, up a weight class. Next up, we got the co-main event. Weili Zhang taking on, uh, I forget how to say her first name. Um, Yinonan Yan, I think is how you say it. I'm just gonna call her Yan. Um, Weili Zhang is 34 years old, 5'4" with a 63-inch reach. She is 24-3 and 8-2 in the UFC, and she's a minus 375 favorite. 11 wins by knockout and 8 wins by submission. And she's one of the best we've ever seen, and she looks better and better each time we've seen her. Her last few times out for sure, and her wrestling has improved so much. She's so explosive and powerful. Great double legs and trip takedowns, and she's so ahead of everybody else lately, man, that I don't know, how she's ever going to lose. She's only lost to Rose, and Rose went up a weight class, and she has great 5-round cardio. She knocked out Jessica Andrade and Joanna Jojacek. Choked out Carla Esparza, I mean, who's supposed to be some kind of great wrestler, and Weili looked better than her everywhere in that fight, and she made it look easy. And she's fought the tougher competition. She has the 5-round experience. She's really good in the clinch. She has so many advantages in this fight, in my opinion. And also if you think about it, Jan has a knockout loss to Carla Esparza, who Zhang, beat pretty easily. So, uh, Whaley's going to have the speed advantage and advantages in her wrestling and grappling for sure. She's very strong with her body lock. She shows 52% striking accuracy with 54% striking defense, 42% takedown accuracy with 67% takedown defense. She averages 2.29 takedowns per 15 minutes, and she lands on average 5.94 strikes per minute while absorbing 3.44. And she's taking on Jan. Jan is 34 years old, 5'5" with a 63-inch reach. She is 17-3 and 8-2 in the UFC, and she's a plus 280 underdog. 7 wins by knockout and 1 win by submission. And looking at that right there off the bat, the first thing you can tell is that Weili is more well rounded. She has way more wins by submission. Uses her grappling a lot more. Um, Honestly, Jan kind of came out of nowhere, to get this title shot for me. Like, I hadn't really paid too much attention to her, up until she knocked out Jessica Andrade, and they were announcing that she was going to get a title shot. She had all decision wins up until her last fight, the Andrade fight. But Andrade had already been finished, twice in a row at that point. Um, and Jan had recently lost to Marina Rodriguez. I think that was a split decision, but she did get finished by Carla Esparza. So I guess I was a little surprised that she got the title shot, that quickly after 2 losses in a row. But either way, it's nice to see a new person in the title picture. She throws great calf kicks, has nice technique with her striking, pops the jab really well, great counters. She was nailing Andrade with nice straight shots down the middle while Andrade was just swinging those ugly hooks at her, man. And it was really pretty knockout. And she actually caught Andrade, while she was backing up as well, with that counter shot. Andrade rushing in on it, and I know that made the punch so much harder that Andrade was running in like that. Um, I do think that if Esparza can get, Jan down, I think Weili will probably be able to as well. It could be a really fun fight, on the feet anyway. It could be pretty close. She didn't show much ability to get up once Carla Esparza got her down, and I could definitely see that playing a factor in this fight. Weili has the 5-round experience, and that will benefit her as well, and she's fought the way tougher competition. Jan shows 45% striking accuracy with 62% striking defense, 67% takedown accuracy with 71% takedown defense. She averages just under 1 takedown per 15 minutes, and she lands on average 5.55 strikes per minute while absorbing 3.56. I'm taking Weili to win this fight. I think she's gonna get a finish late, maybe 4th or 5th round. I'm gonna go with 4th or 5th round submission. Seems like everybody agrees with me too. 97% on Tapology going with Weili. And next up, we got the main event, man. Alex Pereira taking on Jamal Hill. Alex Pereira is 36 years old, 6'4" with an 80-inch reach. He is 9-2 and 6-1 in the UFC, and he's a minus 141 favorite. 7 wins by knockout, no wins by submission. Obviously world class, high level kickboxing. We know all about him. Some of the best calf kicks you're ever going to see. Huge power in his punches. Very technical striking. Does have questionable takedown defense though, and I feel like he just hasn't fought anybody with good wrestling yet that can actually take advantage of that. Yuri got him down, and Yuri's not a wrestler. But anyway, I'm a big fan of both these guys. But to be completely honest with you, the only reason I don't know, for whatever reason, man, the only reason I'm really entertaining the idea of picking Pereira is because Hill has been out for a little while and coming back off an injury. Um, Alex has a 1-inch reach advantage. No doubt he's the better striker skill wise, but that doesn't necessarily mean he'll be able to easily deal with the way Hill fights. Hill has a very different kind of style of striking than anybody that Pereira has fought so far. I mean, I'm not saying that it's better than like I'm not saying Hill's striking is better than Adesanya's, but he's very good at throwing those long punches, and he has really good head movement. Um, uh, where was I at? Yeah, but it's the calf kicks for Pereira that Hill is really going to have to figure out how to stay away from. Pereira shows 62% striking accuracy, which is a really good number. 51% striking defense. He shot 1 takedown in the UFC and he got it, so that means he has 100% takedown accuracy. 70% takedown defense. He lands on average 5 strikes per minute while absorbing 3.65. He's taking on Jamal Hill. He is 32 years old, 6'4" with a 79-inch reach. He is 12-1 and 1 and 6 1-1 in the UFC. He had that one no contest early in his career. Plus 117 underdog, 7 wins by knockout, no wins by submission. He's never been legitimately finished. They stopped the Paul Craig fight, because his arm was broke, but he never tapped, which is crazy. He's very fast and explosive. These guys are both very powerful. It's hard to say who hits harder. I do think Hill has the advantages on the ground here, even though he doesn't really show it that much. Great knees and elbows in close. His takedown defense is pretty damn good. I don't think Pereira would be able to get him down. He's never really shot a takedown in the UFC. Not that I remember from all the tape I watched, but he throws great combinations, great kicks to the body. He has great head movement, really good head movement actually. And he does his best work when he's going for it, man. When he's trying to get that knockout, and that's one thing I noticed in like his 5-round title fight with Glover is he was clearly trying to pace himself. Not that he was losing the fight, he was winning every single round, but he had more success like when he would go for it. At the times during the fight when he would go for it and throw like 3 or 4 punch combinations, aggressively. He had a lot more success. Also, he's very sneaky, man. Like the way he kept, he would switch to southpaw and throw that head kick, that he hit Glover with a bunch of times in that fight. It was a pretty good move and it's pretty slick and nasty ground and pound. What else? Hill shows 55% striking accuracy with 48% striking defense. Like I said, hasn't shot a takedown in the UFC, but has 73% takedown defense. Averages almost 1 knockdown per 15 minutes, and he lands on average 7.31 strikes per minute while absorbing 3.35. So he lands a lot more volume out of these two, but and he gets hit about the same amount, same number with Pereira pretty much. Hill landed over 200 significant strikes in his last fight. I've had a lot of trouble picking this fight, man. I know everyone is going with Pereira, to win, but I'm not completely sold on that. And like originally, if this fight was happening right after Hill had beat, Glover, I probably would have took Jamal Hill, So um, it's only been a year, man. Really, it's not super long, but coming back off the injury kind of scares me a little bit. But Hill's never been knocked out. I really want to pick Hill to win by submission, but he's never submitted anyone. I don't know if he's going to make that part of his game here, shoot for these takedowns, or just try to use his striking. But um, most of Hill's wins have been by knockout. Man, 12-1, man. Never been knocked out. Uh, we've seen Pereira knocked out by Izzy. Um, it's a hard pick, man. Such a big fan of both of these guys. Oh man, I think I'm gonna go with Jamal Hill. I'm gonna take the plus money. I feel like it could go, either way. So why not take the plus money? Everybody's probably gonna hate me for that, but I'll take Jamal Hill to win by late TKO, round 3 or 4 TKO. But it would be really interesting if he was able to come out and take Pereira down and just kind of dominate the fight that way. It is completely possible. He's a big guy, he's strong, he's explosive, whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Hill, man. I mean, everybody's going with Pereira, but I like Hill, man. I think I think he can pull this fight out, man. Just hopefully he comes back in good health and good shape, man. And that's it as far as my picks go, guys, and as far as my bets. I got a 2-fight parlay, which is Davis and Figueiredo and Weili Zhang. That's a minus 145. That's a 1 unit play. And I got a 2-fight parlay of Justin Gaethje and uh, Jalen Turner. Sorry, and that's a plus 110. That's a 1 unit play. I've got a small quarter unit play on Marina Rodriguez at minus 115. And then I've got a small, a big plus money 2-fight parlay, which is Prochazka and Hill, which is plus 350. That's just a small quarter unit play, just in case both the underdogs win. But I'll probably make another one and have Oliveira on it as well, just in case. And that's it as far as my 2-fight parlays and single plays. That's where I win all my money is on those. And as far as my regular parlays, I've got a 4-fight parlay, which is Figueiredo, Bo Nickel, Weili Zhang, and Marina Rodriguez. That's a plus 222. and then to that I added Kayla Harrison and Justin Gaethje, and that's a plus 463. That's a 6-fight parlay. And then to that I added um, Arman Tsarrukyan and Jim Miller, and that makes that a plus 1880 parlay. That's a 8-fight parlay. Leave it up for a second. And then to that, I added um, Jalen Turner, Jamal Hill, and Yuri Prochazka, and that's a plus 12,418 parlay. And I don't ever put much money on these big parlays, guys. Like probably $25 on this one. I might have 50 on the plus 463 and the 6-fight parlay as well. Um, but yeah, man, that's it as far as my bets go, guys. I mean, let's go take a look back and see if anything's changed on the upcoming card. Um, I just did my video on it a couple days ago, but go ahead and check it out and see if anything's changed. Everything appears to be the same, man. Oh, I guess Joshua Van and Roca are not fighting anymore. That sucks. That would be a good fight. But either way, man, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much for caring what I have to say and for being here and commenting on my videos and everything and all that. You don't even know how much it means to me, man. And I did have somebody the other day, man, that I've had like the super thanks thing on my page since I got up over 500 subscribers. But no one's ever bought one or anything, and I didn't really even know how it worked, or what they were. But somebody the other day bought one. It was like $10 or whatever. But I mean, it meant a lot to me, man, because it's really the first time that I've made. I make money betting on fights, but it's the first time I ever made any money after on doing my videos, which is my dream, man, to make money doing this and be able to do this for a living and be able to do like PFL, Bellator, everything, and one, and all that stuff. In addition to doing the UFC, man. So hopefully one day I can make it happen, and hopefully one day I have more time to put more into this. So thank you guys so much, man. I appreciate it, and y'all have a good one. I hope you win some money. I'm out of here.